There is severe weather impacting the United States, and Fox Weather is coming on with their now 11 p.m. newscast. Let's listen in. Again, this is live. We're going to tap into their feed for a little bit as they track out these storms and assess the damage of what's already happened, including some massive tornadoes. Let's watch.
Absolutely incredible and first-hand video and sound coming from a tornado outbreak. We're on a Fox Weather alert tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Haley Meyer. America's Heartland is on high alert for the next week at hand. For Wednesday evening, level 5 out of 5 threat for severe weather. It includes portions like Paducah to Kentucky all the way down into northeastern Arkansas, already seeing reports of catastrophic damage. That's threat 1. Let's talk about threat 2 for a second. We have a level 4 out of 4 threat for the same exact communities going into Thursday. And so to put that into perspective, we have damage and then we have torrential rain. This is worst case scenario for many people. Talking about a very rare threat for severe weather and potentially a historic threat for flooding. So a lot of communities under the gun for all of this and all of this action. We have our Fox Weather folks who are out and about, placed in the field, ready to bring you that first-hand experience. Let's go ahead and toss things out towards Brandy Campbell, who's been out in Evansville, Arkansas, actually, and they've had a pretty incredible night filled with a lot of rain, tornado warnings, even a confirmed tornado warning. So, Brandy, give me some perspective. How's the night evolved for you? I know you're at a hotel, and you've told me that a lot of folks in the hotel moved to the bottom floor, which is essentially seeking shelter as best that they can. What's been the pulse over the last few hours out in Evansville?
Yeah, here where we are, it's been a lot of curiosity from the guests of wondering what is going on, how concerned do we need to be? So it's led to them watching us do our reports and kind of learning that way. But just monitoring the conditions outside, just watching the evolution of it. One thing I'll point out was the drop in temperatures with that cold front reaching us. We also saw an increase in the wind speeds. Actually, it all happened kind of all at once. It was kind of a dramatic moment here later or earlier in the night where we just felt the winds pick up, the rain was coming down, lightning, thunder, and it pretty much left everybody running inside to take shelter. So throughout the night, we've had a lot of guests taking shelter in the bottom floor of this hotel, just trying to hang out together and stay safe as possible. So I will say some of the general impacts here, we have had several tornado warnings on and off. They do have about 50 sirens here in this city of Evansville. So we've heard them here. We're kind of in the further outskirts on the east side of the city, and we've been hearing them going on and off. Obviously the rain, that's been pretty consistent. And that's something we also have to keep in mind because we have that flood watch. That is in place until Sunday. We could see up to a foot of rain in this area, so we have to keep an eye out for any flash flooding, even an eye on the waterways. The Ohio River, that could go into minor flood stage into early next week, but we also have to think about the waterways leading into that Ohio River if any of those might overflow as well. So again, the current weather situation is causing issues, not just in terms of how hectic it is tonight, but we have power outages by 10 o'clock tonight. Power outages were well over 100,000 customers that were in the dark, and this is just day one. So I do want to point out some things for people at home to keep in mind. One, make sure you have your Fox Weather app. If you're watching this on your TV, download the app if you are in any of these warned areas so you can get those alerts, audibly on your phone. I have a couple of things, well, 2 things over here I want to show you. One, the NOAA weather radio. You can get this and set it up so as you go to sleep at night, make sure that's on so you can maybe have those alerts wake you up. Something that people might not really think about, and I heard about this from an emergency manager before. If you were unfortunately hit by a tornado, just something to prepare for the unknown. You can get a whistle. If you are in some sort of catastrophic situation, buried maybe into your basement or whatnot, have a whistle. So when first responders come out to do that search and rescue, they can hear you to see where you are. But then the also other easy things, make sure you have shoes nearby wherever you're going to sleep for the night. So if you have to run off into your safe space, you have some shoes to protect your feet from any potential debris that is, strewn about if you are actually hit by a tornado in your area. So there's a lot to just really stay on alert for in these overnight hours as this threat continues to loom. But yeah, here in Evansville, it's been pretty consistent with those warnings going on and off. I'm sure you guys can see that lightning that's going off in the distance. We do have our field producer, TJ. He's a meteorologist, and he said that lightning is about 10 miles away, so we're okay right now outside, but generally if you do see it, you want to make sure you're inside for that too. Back to you.
Well, Brandy, thanks for that update. Yeah, definitely can see the lightning flashing around you. Some areas, not quite in Evansville, are without power, but I see some street lights, so at least that's some good news. But you're right, the flooding is going to be another really big story here. We'll be checking back in with you, but thanks for your experience going into tonight and kind of hanging with us as we've been covering this expansive storm threat.
Of course.
Let's go ahead and jump into Thursday and what we expect going into early morning, afternoon, and evening, because we still have another round of severe storms. Level 3 out of 5. Now keep in mind, Wednesday was a 5 out of 5, and so that was the peak risk for severe storms. But here's where the concern lies. It is in the same exact target zone where these storms that have been erupting Wednesday afternoon and evening are going to set up and really take shape. What's happening is we have this frontal boundary that's going to stall out and linger rain and the threat for severe weather for very similar communities. So if you live in Memphis, the threat is not over. Brandy, she is right in this general area, very southern Indiana here. They're under a level 2 out of 5, so primarily talking damaging wind gusts and potentially the chance of a few embedded supercells with some tornadic potential there as well. So that's not the only threat. Let's talk about hail for a second. We could be seeing hail at egg size. And that not only, I know we've been really focused on the Mississippi River Valley, but let's jump back into Dallas, Texas too. I mean, the Dallas-Fort Worth, one of the largest metros in the United States, I would say probably over 1 million people. Don't quote me on it, but I mean, it seems pretty logical, where they could have over 2 inches in hail. So for Thursday, if you have a vehicle outdoors, you typically park it outside, maybe bring it into a parking garage, try and park everything indoors, anything that you might have of importance. You don't want it to be impacted by 2-inch hail, because let me tell you, that can destroy windshields and other pieces of property. Going into Thursday, this is in the afternoon, we'll see some residual showers start to erupt across northeastern Texas. Austin, Texas, may be a few instances of some light moderate precip, but this general area is going to continually have rain through the overnight and into early Thursday morning and Thursday afternoon, and that's where the flooding concerns really become much greater. And then we jump into Thursday evening, so we have all the energy from the day. If we even get a little bit of sunshine, that's going to kind of help prime the environment. But the one good thing is, for Wednesday, it was the leading kickoff day of all these severe storms. And each day, because we've had storms preceding it, it sort of eats up some of that energy. And so a day like Wednesday evening is not likely to happen with any of these storms, although we could still have a few tornadoes, some strong. At least that's from the wording of the National Weather Service. What's going on here is we're picking up on this convergence zone. So winds coming out of the south, and then we also have some winds coming out of the northeast. And so that's creating this pile up of where the moist air meets the lifting, and that's where we have a lot of rain that's going to be setting up shop and potentially a few larger cells preceding that stationary boundary, which could be a mechanism to see some severe storms in the form of tornadoes. By Thursday into the evening, that rain still isn't budging, just really setting up along that boundary. And a large piece of that is because we have a high pressure. I put the high along the Gulf of America there. It's actually a little bit farther out towards Florida, but just to keep things into perspective. And what's going on is there's that high, and it's pulling in that moisture coming out of the Gulf of America, and it's meeting up with that stationary boundary, and that's creating the uplift, and then you've got the moisture there as well. So both of these things working hand in hand together. For the large hail, a spot like Dallas-Fort Worth, that's going to be in the middle of the afternoon. So if you're going into work, keep that into mind, where you're going to park your vehicle. You will thank me later. And then as things progress farther out towards the east for Thursday later evening, Dallas-Fort Worth, you're still in the area where you could see dime to, let's say, ping pong ball size hail, really. And then the heaviest pockets of hail actually look like it's setting up, moving just to the east and parallel to I-30. So out towards Shreveport, Texarkana, a lot of those communities will be looking at some pretty intense hail cores, especially in some of the longer lived supercells that we have developed. So here's what's going on. I mentioned a stationary boundary, and that's kind of what we're seeing unfold in this general area. And it's that clash of the air masses, especially with that Gulf moisture shooting up. I mean, look at those dew points. They're in the 70s, upper 60s. Nashville, the dew point is 65. So very saturated air. And so that's all this igniting point to see these severe storms and just heavy rainfall rates. So on Thursday, typically when you have these back-to-back severe storm threats, the energy is severely limited the next day. But we are going to be having a quick recovery of that energy. Not enough energy like we had on Wednesday, but still enough of this surge of available storm potential that we are, again, looking for a chance at seeing tornadoes that will begin to develop. Mostly south of this frontal boundary, so south, I would say areas now of a little more concern would be southeastern Arkansas, Memphis, and the Mississippi Delta. So Oxford, Mississippi could be a spot where you need to kind of watch out to see for some stronger track storms. And then there's just a highlighted risk by the Storm Prediction Center. Strong tornadoes EF2 or greater. So think about the tornado you saw on Brandon Kopic's feed. That was more than likely an EF3. We'll have to wait and see what the National Weather Service rates it. But think about when we say strong tornadoes, keep that image in your head, because sometimes it's hard to think about, okay, strong tornado, I don't know what that means. You can have a picture to that. So just think of Brandon's feed, and we'll continue to show you that video. It really is staggering. But any travel, I would...
All right, so Fox Weather bringing us the latest as they track out the severe weather. We always like to tell you that you can stream them for free anytime at foxweather.tv. It's always on, it's always free. They track these storms out in real time. It can be a real nice resource when there is severe weather moving through these communities. We're hearing from the National Weather Service in Arkansas, their Little Rock office, saying thunderstorms continue to blow up over roughly the eastern half of Arkansas as a strong cold front continues to slowly advance through the state. These storms continue to produce heavy rain, large hail, and strong winds. The tornado threat also continues. Also, the governor of Arkansas, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, saying we have reports of storm and tornado damage from around the state. We have emergency personnel on the ground to help anyone who has been injured, but these storms aren't finished. Stay informed, and most importantly, stay safe.